everyone, it's me, Paganstar, and welcome to the last part of my low poly PS1 style Dusknoir Gijinka tutorial. So, in this part, we will be posing our character, doing a turntable animation, and rendering it out in a PS1 style. Okay, so we wanna go into render view. Make our unhide our rig, and then to pose our character, just go into pose mode. And what I'm gonna do is I think I'm gonna go for kind of a really dynamic punching kind of pose. Since fun fact about Dusknoir is that it is actually capable of learning all of the elemental punches plus a few other punches, so if you really wanted to, you could have a Dusknoir that only knows punching moves, and I think that's really funny. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of go for like a really exaggerated kind of like leaping forward and just slugging somebody. Of course, if you want to go for a more realistic pose, you would go right ahead. I just think it would be fun to do sort of like a really ridiculous, over-the-top pose. Gonna have the arm kind of swing in and have the hand kind of swing around like this, so it really kind of establishes that idea that she's punching someone in the face. Okay, once you have your pose done, I'm pretty satisfied with this. Just go back into object mode and we can hide the rig. And I'm gonna save this as another file. I'm gonna save this out as a separate file so that I can have my unposed, untouched, rigged model, and then just have whatever animations and stuff that I'm going to do as separate files. So I'll call this Ice Punch. Okay, now to do the Ice Punch effect, I'm going to go to Add, Mesh, and UV Sphere. Now let's change the segments and rings to 6. Then tab into edit mode, grab this sphere, just drag it up to where the hand is. Then rotate it so that it's about going in about the same direction as the hand. Scale it up a little bit so it fits onto the model. Then we'll turn on X-ray. Grab this little endpoint. Turn on proportional editing. Kind of scroll this up. Okay, kind of cover the arm like that. Okay, then once it's nice and covered up, we'll go back into object mode, shade smooth. Then make sure you have the object clicked on. Go to material properties, new, and we'll call this Ice Punch. Now let's scroll out a bit to find our material nodes, and make sure you have the use nodes checked so that you can use these nodes and that you're in the shader editor. So let's go ahead and add a, let's see if I can find where it is, a color ramp. Here it is, color ramp. Select this white color, let's change that into a pale blue. Plug color into base color, emission, and alpha. Now, let's go into input and grab a layer weight. Almost forgot what it was called for a second. And plug facing into the factor. Now, let's make sure that we have blend mode on alpha blend. And now we can see our hand, and it looks much more like a coat of like ice or frost coming off. Then we can kind of turn that down to maybe enhance the effect a little bit, turn up the emission strength to make it glow a little bit more. Then just kind of mess around with these a little bit. Yeah, then mess around with this a little bit. And yeah, I quite like that. I like how that looks. Okay, so pull that back down. Go ahead and save this. And if you want to add sort of like a glow effect coming off it, just check bloom. And now it'll have sort of like the light radiating off of it. Okay. So now that we have our character posed and our effect done, let's go ahead and Let's go ahead and do the turntable animation. So let's go ahead and add a circle. Just hit S and scale that up until it surrounds the character. Then grab this, your camera, go to item. Let's go ahead and zero out its location and rotation. Drag this over here to the edge of the circle, pull it up, and now add an object constraint, and I believe it is track 2, and the target would be our mesh. Or another thing that you can do that's a little bit better of an idea is go into empty and grab a plane axis. Now go into this and set the target to be empty. Now we can grab this empty, drag it up, and our camera will look wherever that is. Okay, now let's go ahead and grab our camera, and I believe you grab your camera, and then this, and then hit follow path. Oh yeah, then you go to path animation, change frames to, well, let's go to our timeline. Let's change, since we have the endpoint at 250, let's change the frames to 250. Now that's about 10 seconds, so that's a pretty good pretty good time frame to have that animation. Then you can click on your camera and press 0 to sort of focus on the view, and then like click on view, check camera to view so that the camera will move with whatever you're doing with your mouse. Then gonna go ahead and render this out at a nice big size. I personally like to have a nice square resolution. Then we can go ahead and play that and make sure that every part of our character stays within the frame during the turntable. So just adjust this plane axis to do that. Okay, and that looks pretty good. Okay, so go ahead and get that quick overview of what we did for the turntable animation. After you have your character set up and posed, what you need to do is go to add, curve, create a circle, make it large enough that it is bigger than the character. Then create a plane axis, then go to add, empty, and create a plane axis and pull that up to maybe about the center of the character. And then zero out the location and rotation of your camera. And then on your camera, hit on object constraint properties, add a track to constraint and have your camera track to the empty. And then grab your camera and then your path and hit Control P and hit follow path. Then once you hit follow path, go to your circle, find path animation, under Object Data Properties and set the frames to 250. Okay, and that is how you set that up. I haven't done it in a hot minute, so it was a little bit rusty at first, but there you go. That's how you get that nice and set up. Now for the PS1 style rendering. So make sure to grab your mesh, go to modifier properties, we will add a modifier, we will add a displace modifier. Now click on new, and then click on this little button right here that kind of looks like two pills. Change this to clouds, go back to modifier properties, and change strength to 0.25, coordinates to global, and direction to RBG to XYZ. Wait, let's change the coordinates to object. Set that to camera. So then that way when the camera moves around, it'll cause the model to jitter around like that. And then we can grab this, our little effect. Also add a displace onto that. But this time click on this little checkerboard and select texture. And change the strength to 2.5. And the coordinates to object. And the object to camera. And there we go. Now we have the vertex jitter that the PS1 has. So next, let's go ahead and go to our compositing tab. Check use nodes, grab this and drag them apart. Go to add, distort, and scale. Duplicate this, have one be 0.25, and then the other be 4.096. If you do 4 instead of 4.096, it kind of has this, like, you know, it kind of has a habit of kind of awkwardly leaving space around the edge when you render it out. So, like, I don't know why it does that exactly, but like in order to get it to render out properly at the full size, you need to have it be set to 4.096. Okay, so then now go to add, then filter, and pixelate, and place that in between the two scales. Then we can go back to layout, save, and check render image to make sure that we like what we're receiving. Okay, yeah, that looks pretty good. I like that. Okay. Now, let's go to color management. Let's set view transform to standard. For film, let's set the filter size to 0 and set this to transparent. Alright. Now let's go ahead and set a destination for it to render out the images. Then we can go ahead and save this out. Then all you gotta do is hit render animation. And it'll render out all the frames of the turntable animation. And once you do that, you can just go ahead and like pop that into maybe say like a GIF maker or whatever you use to make animated GIFs. Of course, another thing that you can do is you can also change, set the file format from PNG to one of these movie formats. But if you do that, I would recommend not having film set to transparent, because otherwise the movie formats don't support having a transparent background, so the background will just be pitch black. So I would recommend like having an actual background if you're going to do that. Okay. Oh, and that's all there is to that. Oh, but one more thing is that there is this website called Dither Me This. It's a very useful and helpful website that can help you create more sort of compressed looking PS1 style images. So go ahead and show an example of that using texture. See that? Now it looks a lot more like it belongs on a retro console. So I'll leave the link to the website in the description in case you're interested in using it. But that does it for this tutorial. Thank you so very much for watching, and have a nice day.